Canley, Coventry, the autumn of 1973. On a bench in the engine shop sits a cylinder head cast in aluminium with 16 valves in it and a single camshaft to work them all. Every serious engineer in the industry will tell you that combination is a compromise, that 16 valves want 2 camshafts, and anything less is a bodge. Within a year, that head will win a Design Council award. Within 5, it will have a reputation for destroying itself. Both of those things are true. Neither is the engine's fault. The proof has been sitting in a motoring magazine since 1976, the words of a man in Lincolnshire who watched his own engine destroy itself and then defended it. In its first full year, the car built around it found 5,446 buyers. In its last, 493. 22,941 Triumph Dolomite Sprints left Canley between January 1973 and August 1980, and the settled verdict on every one of them is that they cook themselves. Here is what doesn't fit. There is an owner's log published in Motorsport in April 1976, kept by a man called John Godfrey of Grantham in Lincolnshire, who bought his Sprint new on the 1st of May 1974. At 8,500 miles, his cylinder head came off, badly corroded. And at the end of that same log, having listed every fault the car gave him, Godfrey calls it a reliable, comfortable, well-appointed car of lively performance when correctly tuned. The man whose head corroded defends the engine, because he also wrote down the cause. One line, and it moves this entire story off the drawing board and into the hands of the company that built the car. Subscribe and stay with me, because that line is the reason the Sprint's reputation has almost nothing to do with its engineering, and it is the part the road tests never printed. To understand what was on that bench, we need to go back 10 years. In 1963, Triumph's chief engine designer, Louis Daughtry, put forward a proposal for a family of engines. Not one engine, a family. 4 cylinders and 8, anywhere from 1.5 litres to 3 litres, all sharing tooling. The 4-cylinder version was canted over at an angle so it would sit low under a bonnet. Everyone called it the Slant 4. And here is the first strange thing about a very British engine. The first car it powered was Swedish. Saab wanted a new engine for the 99 and had looked at building its own. It judged the cost and the risk too high, went to the British consultancy Ricardo for advice, and Ricardo pointed it at Coventry. The Saab 99 went on sale with a Triumph Slant 4 in 1968, 4 years before Triumph put that engine into a Triumph. Britain designed it. Sweden shipped it first. The 16-valve head came later, and who exactly drew it is still argued about. Air Online credits a team under Charles Spencer King, Spen King, working with Harry Mundy and engineers from Coventry Climax. Motorsport, writing in 2010, gives the head to Daughtry himself. Both accounts come from people who ought to know, and they do not agree. What is not in dispute is what the head does. One camshaft, sitting above 2 rows of valves, inclined 27 degrees from vertical. The inlet valves are driven straight off the camshaft through bucket tappets. The exhaust valves are worked by long rocker arms that reach right across the head to get to them. It is an elegant answer to a problem the rest of the industry solved with a second camshaft and a bigger bill. Now look at what it cost. Every decision in this engine is a pair of opposites with one side chosen, one camshaft against 2, aluminium against iron, power against reliability, clever against serviceable. Triumph picked a side each time, and every choice sent a bill somewhere else. Start with the power. In development, the engine was making over 150 brake horsepower. What reached the showroom made 127 at 5,700 RPM. Triumph took a knife to its own headline figure to buy reliability and refinement, the first of several trades and the only one they got entirely right. Then the metal. The head is aluminium, the block underneath it is cast iron. Every alloy head engine bolted to an iron block lives with the same quiet problem, and most of them live with it perfectly well. Aluminium is lighter, sheds heat better, and lets you cast a complicated shape. It also expands roughly 1 7/10 times as fast as iron when it gets hot, so every time a sprint warms up and cools down, the head grows across the block face and shrinks back again, scrubbing over the gasket between them. So why did this engine get the reputation and not the 100 others built the same way? Because of how the head is held down. According to the Triumph Dolomite Club, and this is owner's knowledge rather than a factory document, so take it as that, the head is clamped by a mixture of straight bolts and long studs that enter the block at an angle. The angled ones are the weakest points in the pattern. Owners report the failure arriving in the same place, between number 4 cylinder and the largest water passage in the block. Skim a warped head flat, and the angled holes and the straight holes move closer together. The pattern gets worse, which is why a sprint that has had its head off once is often a sprint that has its head off again. And there is the third thing, the one that is easiest to miss. Alloy castings and the wrong coolant do not get along. Use the wrong antifreeze or let it go, and the corrosion silts up the waterways. The engine runs hot because it cannot get rid of its own heat, and then the gasket goes. The head does not fail because the head is bad. It fails because of what is in the radiator. Hold that thought. The rest of the car deserved better than its reputation. 1973 went 1740, and a specification no rival at the price could match. 13-inch alloy wheels as standard, the first mass-produced British saloon to fit them. Wood, cloth, chrome, and a claimed top speed the press could actually reach. Motorsport tested one in October 1973 and called it a thoroughly likable and unexpectedly fast compact saloon. They recorded 115 miles an hour. They also noted the heater lever produced unscheduled hot air and the horn stopped working during the test, which tells you almost everything about British Leyland in one sentence. In 1974, the head won its Design Council Award. You will often hear the Sprint called the world's first mass-produced 16-valve engine. It wasn't quite. Cosworth's BDA got there in 1970 and Lotus's 907 in 1972. The honest version is narrower and, if anything, better. The first 16-valve engine fitted to a car an ordinary family could walk into a showroom and buy. And on a circuit, it was magnificent. British Leyland took the RAC manufacturer's title in 1974. Andy Rouse took the driver's crown in a sprint in 1975. Tony Dron lost the 1977 championship to a tyre failure, not to an engine. There was even a sprint engine TR7. 62 of them were built at Speak in 1977, every one a fixed-head coupe, every one pre-production. The Spake strike and the closure that followed killed the car before a single one was sold. 62 cars that exist and were never for sale. The Sprint's best year was its first. It never came close again. And here is the part that is still moving. In 2016, 193 Sprints were licensed in Britain. Today, DVLA figures show 420 manuals on the road and another 36 automatics. The number has more than doubled in 10 years. There are 373 more manuals declared off the road, sitting in garages, half finished, waiting. Nearly as many Sprints are hidden as are running, and every year a few more of the hidden ones come back. So, what happened between 1973 and 1980? Not the design. Aeronline is blunt about it. The engine was spoiled by downgraded materials in production, the internals were skimped on, and the tales of 16-valve unreliability spread from there. A company running out of money made an expensive engine cheaper, one component at a time. And then there was what happened when something went wrong. Which brings us back to the man with the corroded head. Before 3,000 miles, his oil filter block worked loose. Before 6,000, he had oil coming up the spark plug tubes, a leaking mixture of oil, water and antifreeze after every run, overheating at idle, and a replaced clutch master cylinder. At 8,500 the head came off. British Leyland accepted it under guarantee. Then he waited. 5.5 weeks for a cylinder head during a recession from a factory with idle capacity. A new head appeared within 24 hours, only after he told them he was going to leave the car at British Leyland and walk away. Then he waited again for gaskets. And the cause, written on that warranty job, the line that sits underneath everything in this video, incorrect anti-freeze as supplied with the car. The coolant that ate the aluminium came in the radiator. It was put there before the keys were handed over. British Leyland built one of the most advanced cylinder heads in Europe, filled the engine with the wrong fluid, and then took 5.5 weeks to replace what that fluid destroyed. So we go back to the bench at Canley. The received story about the Dolomite Sprint is that Britain reached too far, that a small company got clever, built something it couldn't support, and paid for it. That story is comfortable, and it lets everybody off. But the head on that bench was right. It won an award. It won championships. It is still running 50 years later in 456 cars. What was wrong was everything around it. The materials quietly cheapened to save money. The wrong antifreeze poured in at the factory. The 5.5-week wait that turned one failure into a story the owner told for the rest of his life, and that his neighbours told after him. Britain didn't fail to build the engine. Britain built the engine and then failed to look after the people who bought it. Did your family ever have a Dolomite, a Sprint, or one of the plainer ones? And be honest, did it ever get through a winter without a garage bill? Let me know in the comments. Picture the head one last time. Not on the bench in 1973 and not on a warranty bench in 1976. Picture it on a garage floor somewhere in Britain tonight, off a car that is one of the 373. Lifted, cleaned up, waiting on a gasket set and a free weekend. 50 years old, 16 valves, 1 camshaft, and still worth saving. It always was.